Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or just hello. Uh, we will be in a different time zones, so this weekend we will travel in time. Not only because our great speakers will came from the different areas, from Mexico and United States, from Portugal, Poland to New Zealand, but also because we will talk and we will listen about the past, about the present times, and about the future. This is the second edition of Rising of Lusitania conference, but this is the Rising of Lusitania Animadoc Film Festival number 4. And my name is Piotr Kardas. I'm father of Rising of Lusitania, and I have opportunity to make this introduction and lead the first panel, to be a small moderator of the first panel with two of our first guests. And because I mentioned about this beautiful part of our world, New Zealand, we will start right there in New Zealand. And our first guest will be Miriam Harris. So, hello, Miriam.
Hello. So
I will
shall I?
before you start, I will introduce you widely. Miriam Harris is associated professor in digital design and at the Auckland University of Technology, New Zealand. She completed graduate study in digital animation and VFX at Sheridan College, Canada, and is an award-winning animator who has had work screened at a variety of international festivals. Like Krakow Film Festival, I remember that your movie a couple years ago was presented there. She has written extensively on areas such as experimental and Czech-Polish animation and the relations of animation with fine arts, digital media, memory, and culture. She is a co-editor with Dr. Samantha Moore of the international academic journal Animation Practice, Process, and Production, founded by Professor Paul Wells and published by Intellect Limited. Yesterday we presented your great animadoc visiting Ben Shemen. And today we can listen about the process, how this movie was created. So the floor is yours, Miriam, please.
Thank you very much, Piotr, and I'm really delighted to be here. And you have spoken about different time zones, Poland, New Zealand, and this is what this film is very much about. Uh, and I'd like to speak to some issues surrounding documentation in relation to this experimental animation, which was very much made in the confinement of the pandemic over the last 2 years. And it focuses on interviews with 3 women, all of whom are Holocaust survivors or refugees, one of whom is my mother. And they escaped or survived the Holocaust as children. And they studied at the innovative Ben Shemen School in Palestine once they reached there. So in this film, I've adopted a sketchbook aesthetic. And here you can see, this again, this is a sign of the different time zones. Ben Shemen in Israel, whereas I'm thousands of kilometers away in New Zealand as a Kiwi. But during the pandemic, I was very interested in researching into Ben Shemen. These three women are all in their late 80s. My mum has got Alzheimer's, and it was very important to me to record their memories. And 3 years ago, I traveled to Israel, and I also interviewed my mother's two friends, Chava and Penina. And I guess I took the sketchbook approach because it's a personal repository for mixed media, mixed approaches. You can have both figuration and abstraction, drawing and photography, word and image, English and Hebrew. And there's a performative aspect of the sketchbook format. The documentation of different layers, time zones, places. So a number of you might be familiar with Bastien Dubois' Madagascar Journey Diary, but this is just one country that emerges, whereas here it's very much about a variety of time zones, past, present, as you've spoken about, Piotr. Drawing is imbued with emotional resonance, the index of the hand, a record of thoughts, feelings, temporality, and process. Mark making as having metaphoric value, and also materiality, communicating various levels of time and location, which you can relate to The Handmaid and Auratic, and Carla McKinnon, a UK animator and animated documentary creator. In the Crafty Animator book, she links these qualities with authenticity. So just a bit about the three women. This is my mum, who was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1934. My mum escaped Warsaw hidden at the bottom of a hay cart when she was 6. And she and her sister and parents were deported to a Siberian labor camp, and she actually became orphaned in that labor camp. Another one of the women is Penina, who actually was born in Łódź, and she and her mother and little sister survived ghettos, Ravensbrück and Bergen-Belsen. And Chava was saved by a kind of Romanian kinder transport in which 75 Jewish children traveled from Bucharest to Palestine. Adolf Eichmann tried to redirect the transport to Auschwitz, but the Red Cross miraculously intervened. So Marion Hirsch, who has spoken about cinema in relation to the Holocaust, and she's noted that films about the Holocaust often resist classical realist forms of film narration, traditionally used to provide a sense of mastery over the past, and instead adopt modernist forms of narrative. And I'm just going to show you a short segment here, Penina talking about her background. So, in contrast to the horrors of the Holocaust, this film explores the sanctuary and potential for healing provided by the Israeli agricultural youth village Ben Shemen, where the three women studied as young teenagers once they'd arrived in British Mandate Palestine and had become friends. I was very interested in their experience there because the film was a utopia. It very much privileged values such as humanist ethics, the importance of creativity, socialism, working the land. And taking this direction through Ben Shemen, it offers a take on the Holocaust narrative that is different from some other animated documentaries, such as Silence by Orly Yadin and Sylvie Bringus, or Ari Folman's recent Where is Anne Frank. So it's about young teenagers trying to rebuild their lives in Palestine and being met by the kindness and nourishment of an enlightened educational institution. And, during the pandemic, making this film, it offered a balm in the face of suffering and the huge importance of creativity and resilience. So I just want to take up some aspects of the film in relation to ideas put forward by theorists who have advanced the ways we think about the animated documentary. And these thinkers include Annabelle Honnis-Rowe, Paul Ward, and Nia Ehrlich. So Honnis-Rowe has explored several animated documentaries that have a Holocaust theme, including Silence, Everything's for You, and also Waltz with Bashir, where there is some Holocaust content. And Honnis-Rowe refers to Marion Hirsch's concept of post-memory, a term that specifically addresses the intergenerational trauma experienced by those who have absorbed the impact of their parents' suffering without directly experiencing the events themselves. And I can certainly relate to this condition, and it comes through in Art Spiegelman's graphic novel Mouse. And in these images, you can see how past and present are intertwined in the same space. And this is very much a juxtaposition which is possible in animation. The child self coexists with the adult, and geographical and temporal zones overlap in a non-linear fashion. And in this excerpt with Chava, you can also see how she, in her late 80s, intersects with her memories of her childhood. So looking at Honnis-Rowe, she talks about how animation has the potential to bring things that are temporally, spatially, and psychologically distant from the viewer into closer proximity. It can conflate history, transcend geography, and give insight into the mental states of other people. And I find this quote very crucial in relation to this film, Visiting Ben Shemen. She also talks about how using non-indexical media might seem a curious way of remembering the past, but actually it can be a very rich way of representing the past to convey the meaning of both personal history and the act of remembering it. Nia Ehrlich, an Israeli animation theorist, talks about how the audio can act as a warranting and anchoring device, which allows for more fluid visual depictions. And again, this was a quality that was incorporated. I worked closely with composer Juliet Palmer, and her mix of sound and my images very much allowed us to wander, both from the representational more to the imagined. And Paul Ward talks about how animation foregrounds construction, and again, showing the construction of the film, its performative nature was very important in this. I'm just going to show another segment. So this also acknowledges Bill Nichols' reflexive mode in documentary filmmaking. And the foregrounding of art and music in this film very much relates to the traumatized students' experience of, how art and music at the school very much contributed to their healing. I also wanted the depiction of interviewees to be engaged and relaxed as if the audience were in the same room with them, rather than the monumental type approach that can occur in some of the interviews of Holocaust survivors for Steven Spielberg's Shoah Foundation. So I use my phone for a more spontaneous ambience. And I depict their lives at Ben Shemen, intertwining drawn notations, handwriting, with images informed by Israeli artists from the 1940s, intertwining past and present. This is just the last clip I'm showing. So that brings this presentation to a conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that. I sent you one question on the private chat about the sound, because there is no sound when you presented the part of your movies. It
I'm
shouldn't be like that.
sorry. Yeah, there should be sound, unfortunately. Yeah, for some reason. Okay, but I hope it still, the impression came across.
Yeah, I don't have a doubt. Okay, Miriam, I have first question. Maybe first, yeah, there should be a sound. So yeah, so what can you do is to catch the movie on the festivals, because now it's only the only place where you can you can meet visiting Ben Shemen. But do you plan to present your movie online in the future?
Yes, I think after the festival run, yes, I'm planning to. Yeah, I will release it on Vimeo. It will be accessible. Yeah. But if there are people who would really like to see it, they can get in touch with me, and I can share the password if people promise not to share the link.
Okay, and back to my question and some impression about the movie, because what I like in this movie is that although the topic is very, the background is very difficult, at the same time, the movie has a lot of light. It's, you shown that even in the dark times, you can see the lights of hope. Of course, because of the people, because of the art, it's very important. And I think it's a very, very important and valuable part of your movie. This is my impression.
Well, I'm so glad you feel that, because that was very much my intention, was to offer some hope. That this was a very special school, and it was they weren't professional psychologists, but they were actually providing the things that these traumatized teenagers really needed: friendship, art, you know, a sense of solidarity, socialism. You know, it was a very healing experience.
Yes.
And, you know, throughout, ever since my childhood, my mother spoke about this school with stars in her eyes. You know, it was just so significant.
Mm-hmm. You know, it reminds me the other movie, the project, the web doc. Maybe you know Maharaja's Children, Brave Bunch in India. It's
I will
about,
look it up. I don't know it.
yeah, I will send you a link to this web doc, because it's free, available everywhere for everyone. And it's about the history of 10 years old Wiesio, one of 1,000 Polish children who were saved from the hell of World War II by Indian Maharaja. And this Indian Maharaja created the very similar place like Ben Shemen. He created it in India, a home for children with a lot of positive energy, with a lot of art. So yeah, it reminds me.
I'll be very interested. I hadn't known about it.
Yeah, I will
Fantastic.
send you the link, because it's a very, very good good movie. So my question, finally, because I suppose, and I don't have doubt that because of your mother, you had thought about this topic long before you even had an idea for a movie. So when you started your work, were your thoughts from the past the starting point, or were you like a carte blanche and started talking with your characters, and on these conversations you start to build the idea for the movie, the idea how it should looks like?
It's an interesting question. I knew I wanted to commemorate this school and also honor these three gutsy women. I guess it was more, like you say, the carte blanche of it unfolded through my talking to them. And, you know, I interviewed them, I used my phone, and the story came together as a result from that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. If someone have any questions, please, you can write these questions on YouTube, on Facebook. We will see, we will read, and Miriam, I know that she will answer for it. So please share a question. If not, because I hope you will be with us until the end of this panel, Miriam. So after Agnieszka's presentation, we can.
Agnieszka's got a question. Could you tell us more about the research part?
Yes. So
okay.
Could you?
Yes, I did it was during the pandemic, so internet was my tool. I did a lot of research about the school on the internet. And that was also before I visited Israel and interviewed my mother's friends. Then also when I went to the school with a friend, there was, you know, there's a small museum there, and I was able to do more research there as well. And I guess the information about the women's past very much came through talking to them. So some things about Penina's past also were based upon a Holocaust testimony she gave, which is lodged at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. You know, it's a Holocaust memorial. And when she was just a child, having come out of Bergen-Belsen, she was interviewed, and her testimonial was recorded back then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as I said, I hope you will be with us till the end of this panel, maybe even more.
Yes.
Although I know that it's a 10 hours distance between Poland now and New Zealand. So we are.
I'll stay up for as long as I can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So now, thank you one more time for your presentation and for your great movie.
Thank you. And thanks for the, very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Now I will invite Agnieszka. Yes.
Hello.
It is Agnieszka Powierska, a very important person for Rising of Lusitania, because she is a coordinator of the conference. We started cooperated last year, and we continue successfully. But of course, it's not only the only thing that Agnieszka do in her life. She's an educator, academic lecturer. In 2019, she defended her doctoral dissertation of animated documentary. So she know what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Currently, she conducts media courses for students of the State University of Applied Sciences in Włocławek, Poland, co-created a web portal about film and education, Film w szkole.pl.
That's right.
And gladly studies ecopoetics. That's very interesting for me. But
yes, but it is interesting, and I will say a few words about this as well in my presentation.
Great. Okay, so Agnieszka, please, the floor is yours now. So,
thank you. Thanks
please.
a lot. And is it mine?
Yes.
Okay.
In caption.
Okay, so I'm showing my presentation now. Tell me, please, if it's visible.
It is.
Okay, thanks a lot. So sorry for my English. I will try my best to be understandable. I will try to say about images and issues of Anthropocene in the latest animadocs, and not only animadocs. My presentation will be based on the program of Lusitania. And this is why I am adding this, not only because when we were talking with Piotr about what is this panoramic section about, he said that there were very important films which is worthy to show, but maybe they are not a specific animadocs. So that's why I wanted to make it a little more broad. And I will say, I will search some traces of awareness of Anthropocene in the movies shown in Lusitania. And some of the films are yet to be screened tonight and tomorrow, so you can still join the festival in Łódź, and I recommend it strongly. I just came back from Łódź to say some words about it from my home, but I would really love to be there again. So if you have a chance, please do this. I understand Anthropocene as at the epoch when the human civilization has a great part in shaping the world. And I think that so my presentation will be about some environmental issue and concerns. I think this is a very collective experience, and I have also some quotations that will give you an image of why this is so collective. When we are talking about collective animation this year during the conference, I think this needed to be also mentioned, the crisis, climate crisis. So I told you that I will tell something about the school I am participating. So the School of Ecopoetics is led by Julia Fiedorczuk, the poet, and Philip Springer, the reporter. And I would say shortly that this is a school of eco thinking, but it's also only like the very basic explanation. And when we were talking with other students about why we choose to be there and want to join the cars, it was mentioned many times that we all experienced 2018 EPCC report shock when we started to be aware that we are as a civilization in very bad situation if we want to meet the points of Paris Paris Pact or agreement. We need to hurry and we need to change our plans. So it was like really traumatic, I would say, even to experience that and read that. And I think that it was some kind of turning point. We started to talk more about climate crisis and climate depression as well, which is quite common phenomenon among young people now. So it is said we are in 6 mass extinction. And Andrzej Marzec, who is a philosopher and the author of the book Antropocene, said that we should invent such a greeting as hello, we are dying, which shows our solidarity with non-humans, because this our collective experience is even more than human experience. We also, as you can see in the quote, I will read it, share it not only with humans. We can not only talk about the human end, we die together, all of us, collectively, without exception. Hello, we are dying tells us about our disastrous situation in which we find ourselves together, also with non-human lives. So let's see what traces of this awareness we can find in this year Lusitania program. First of all, I would like to note that we can see a lot of water in the films, which is interesting because of the topic and the imagery of Lusitania as well. But as you can see, authors of the films, for example, these 6 here, are really concerned about water. So if it comes to the animadoc formula, I would say that I have no doubts that 2/3 of them, once there was a sea, and Tapage's A Brief History of the Transformation of a River S, are animadocs, and the other are from sections based on her story and panoramic I mentioned before. And they are more experimental or more fabularized can I say that? Is that a word? I don't know. But they have story, not maybe documentary story, but some kind of plot. Maybe this is the word I should use. So in those three, I don't know if you see my move here on the screen, we can see that water is considered as life. I will say about this more. And the other three, but also once there was a sea, show that we use water as a garbage dump. And this, of course, has its consequences. So the first movie, which I think is really important and beautiful, wonderful, and you should see this one for sure, is Once There Was a Sea by Joanna Kożuch. And it says about consequences of cotton cultivation, irrigation, and artificial fertilization on the Aral Sea. So we can see that aggressive exploitation and short-sightedness of decision makers since 70s bring very strong consequences for the characters of the movie, because the sea is disappearing. There is no tourism, no job, no food, and I think that there is also some kind of identity issues, like as if the inhabitants of the former seaside would be like migrants they are like migrants in a way, of course, because they stayed in their homes, most of them, but they are deprived somehow of their previous identity, I guess. And the reason why I'm showing the other poster here is because there is a documentary, not animated, but also very interesting about the other side of this problem. It shows the cotton and cloth industry, which is also very aggressive, not only for the environment, but also for the people. So they are two films that are mirroring each other, and this is a very interesting juxtaposition. What else we can see? I think it's very interesting also in Tapajos, the other film I would like to talk about. We can see the map or satellite-like photos, or they are animated, of course, in the movie, that shows the disappearing of the water. Also, this frame you can see here is not from the movie, it's also similar thing is used in the movie, but this one is from the website. You can go and check what was the situation in each year if it comes to the water, I don't know how to say, territory. So I think it's in dialogue with Animadoc prehistory, because we see maps in documentaries from like very old ones as well. So this is the history of Animadoc, or a very important part of it. And also it shows us the other perspective we need to gain to see how huge impact of human activity has on Earth. So for me, it is some kind of substitute or alternative for this very wide shots in ecodocs like Antropocene, which poster you can see here. But also the school of ecopoetics I told you about before, it says that the climate crisis is a crisis of imagination, which means for me also that we experience a crisis of the way how we perceive the world. And that's interesting because maps are connected somehow with discoveries and conquests. So perceiving a world as a territory. And this, we can see this kind of thinking, we can see also in tapages, because as you can see, there are also this satellite-like pictures there, but also this sign to sell is very often shown in the film, which show us that we treat land like that. And this film is about Riverside Society, which is very strongly connected with the river. And when it is took over by huge companies connected with food industry, and the ports are set there, the people, the inhabitants of this area lose a sense of affiliation, also identity, safety, even aim of being there, and the society get degenerated. So this is a similar story, but more contemporary, because we can see that it is happening now near Amazon. And here there is a story that the film is called Where the Winds Die, and it's about Kurdish city Sardasht, which was the victim of the chemical weapons. And the river has very important meaning in that, because for the majority of the plot we can see what is happening between characters and the reflections of the river, in the river, so or maybe on the surface of it. So there is a love story, and maybe this thing connected with this reflection maybe is can be read as allusion to some iconoclastic religious tradition, but also for me it's important as a sign that the water is a symbol of or even more than symbol, it's a sign of life. When it's before the attack, we can see a wide river, and when the attack is having its consequences, it's getting smaller and smaller. Thankfully, there is some kind of revival there. Also, this film, apart from showing people suffering, it also show animals, which is important in this. It's farmer animals, but still, it's I think important part of the narration. And now we are going to the other part of the films, which are showing the water as a place in our human perspective, as a place for garbage, which is of course shown as a big problem. In the film, open water is only a small sign of it, because it's mainly concerned on migration crisis. The film shows a process of creating artificial intelligence creature who learn how to perceive the world and how to respect boundaries, even those invisible. So it's a bit like human-like situation. And when we see the water, it's completely ignored by the narration, that we can see also pontoon and life jackets. So it's like a sign of migration crisis, but there is also some barrel and heavy buoy making marking maybe some territory. There is some stuff there in the water. and it's for me mainly the migration crisis. It's like the thing we don't want to see. We want to displace from our side of view, and the most terrifying thing is that they are completely ignored by the narration. So we see them, and the narrator doesn't mention that we can see, doesn't comment on that. So only slight signs of our eco crisis topic, but there is something. I told you some things that are floating on the water, mainly migration crisis, but also some eco topics. And the other two films are more focused on the garbage, the topic. Both of them are developing a well-known idea of the consequences of throwing garbage to the water, that they can kill. We know this idea from various texts of the culture, but for me the most important or the most shocking one was Chris Jordan photography series, one of which you can see here from 2009. But of course, even if it's a well-known topic, I think it's important to repeat this message. And in the film De Panka, I think it's that one, you can see also this allusion to this saying that in 2050 there will be more plastic and more garbage in the water than the fish. So this is about that. The garbage kill real creatures, it's kill animals. And in this topic, very important sign is a plastic bottle. As I told before, in the Panka there is a plastic bottle that make fish die inside. And there is also interesting film echo in the panoramic section. There is also another symbol in this film, maybe more important. It's a deer mask that make human bring human back to the food chain and the wildlife. But so we are in the forest, and for a first glimpse, it seems like it's untouched and very natural. But when we see more carefully, we see dirty tracks of human there. And there is also this very important plastic bottle in this film. And I think it's very paradoxical symbol, because when we think about advertisement of mineral water, I don't know if in other countries as well, but Polish advertisement are showing a bottle of mineral water as some kind of a container for your own pure nature, that it comes straight from the mountains. And it doesn't, for example, it shows the bottle in the forest, and we are not made to think why the bottle is there. It is there because it's the same, right? It's just a piece of nature. So I think it's very paradoxical. But in the topic of the Anthropocene, it is important also to think about the change of the perspective. So there is a lovely animation that is against anthropocentric view. It's the pioneers. At the beginning, we see the information that the space experiments were sending 59 living passengers before the human, and then we can see in some kind of a music clip composition, we see the pioneers, and they are lovely dogs and monkeys and mice, and we can see them in this pride poses of pioneers, but at the same time they have this big sparkling eyes. They have these faces showing sometimes overwhelming, sometimes joyful silliness, maybe gloom, maybe devotion, maybe pride, but it brings compassion to them, and it's remind us how they were used in tests and experiments by Soviet Union mainly, but not only. And another film that make the change of the perspective is Allosaurus Rex, which is a mock document, and it's really humorous and also lovely because it's show us cars in wildlife documentary way. So the child is a narration, and you can see the childlike images in it. So we can see on the cars as on some kind of animals or dinosaurs. We know their habits, enemies, impact of ecosystem. For example, traffic is shown as a gathering and choral traditions, and smell of the car as a way of marking territory. So it's very, very interesting and fresh. And we know that cars may be soon extinct because of invasive species, which is bicycle. So this film, as you can see, the narration is quite neutral or even supportive for the cars, but the images show us the evil that is connected with this topic. So the film shows absurdities of car overusing, I would say. Also, there is this image of the huge and grey city jungle as natural human environment, which is nothing new, but I think it's still very meaningful and important. And very outstanding from that is animation Till We Meet Again, which tells a story about the village on the island, and all the materials for the animation were found on the beach there. And if I can see also the animations and what they say about us from the perspective of this wildlife documentary, I would say that I mentioned about cars, that's why I'm saying about it. I would say that parasitism is a natural scam between individuals of our species, as the animations from Lusitania, or many of them, shows us, and those are the examples on of this kind of showing our relations. And thank you very much. Now maybe it's time to switch off the presentation.
Yes. Thank you very much, Agnieszka, for this presentation. Very important, touch very important topics, and touch our main topic of our conference. I mean, undefined potential of animation and engaged animation. So for me, it's a I'm very glad that when I watch the movies from all around the world, I can see that artists everywhere, they are very consciousness, and they are very, how to say, worried about the future, about our community population, about the human being itself, right? So that's why, for example, today in the first panorama, we can watch the 3 animated movies, one from Ecuador, so South America, one from Nigeria, so Africa, one from Iran, so Asia, Middle East, and all of them, although they are created in a very different culture, how to say, culture atmosphere, okay, culture, not a good word, but with different culture background, they present the very important things, I mean, here about the ecology. Okay, if you have any questions, please ask. If not, I wish to share with you something and ask you about something, because first of all, I would like to refer to what you said about the panorama, because I treat these movies as animated documentaries, of course, sometimes on the border, that we talked yesterday that I have some problem, but maybe I need time to live with this movie, with these movies, and finally I will catch what the author.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's not the core or the spine of animated documentary, right? Maybe
Yes.
I said it maybe too bravely, but yes, of course, that they for sure are kind of factual animation, or they are connected with real places, events, and stories. But they show it maybe not in canonic for animadoc way, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and in the same time, the competition has its capacity, how to say, what I mean. So that's why the panorama, and I'm very proud, very glad, very grateful that I can present these movies in these 2 panoramas during the festival. But the question, I remember that last year when we talking about when we had the conference online, although we were in Gdańsk last year. This topic was also one of the main. I wonder how much engaged animation affect people. I'm very curious about that, and I don't know if someone create some kind of how to say, talking with people, with some group of people, and ask them after they watched the movie, the animated movie, about the climate changes, about human beings, if it is the animation can affect people. I mean, maybe the fact that it's an animation creates some kind of distance to the problem, in the mind of people. I'm very curious about this topic.
Yeah, I think there is plenty of points in this, because for sure it would be very interesting to see here some kind of measure of it, right? Maybe this is more like media studies or social studies, but that would be very interesting, but for sure very complex as well. But yeah, I would love to see it, and of course you can use many different ways to get the information, right? I can say that for sure it affects me, but at the same time I can say that I am convinced to this topic, right? And I'm dedicated. So maybe I'm not a good example. But yeah, I hope so. If it reaches eyes, I mean the eyes of the viewers, I hope it reaches also hearts and minds, which may sound a bit simple, but for example, this animation about the pioneers, how you could be how you could stay out of the love and compassion to these creatures with this big eyes, and you think about this huge mission they were sent on, and they were not, of course, aware, and they couldn't decide about it, right? And they are so similar to the animals we love, our close animals. Yeah, I think the animation has its own ways to reach us, and yeah, I think it's not maybe it wouldn't be good to compare it with other messages, other kind of medias, but they all should, combine their strength in giving us the messages about important stuff. But yeah, I would be very interesting to see the empiric, is that a word? Research about the impact of animation.
Yeah, that's right. And I think last year one of the presentation were about that. I think, but we have to back to that.
Yeah, you need to get back there, because I can't recall now, but maybe there was. So I need to refresh the abstracts and see. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the end, I believe, no, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure that artists that created animadocs, they believe, they don't believe. They are sure that animation can affect it and have power to influence.
Yeah, I hope also the other presentations during our conference will say more about it, and our discussion tomorrow. I think that this question should be also asked there. Maybe we will, after the whole 2 days of talking about the strength of animation, maybe we can give some conclusions.
Yes, exactly. Animation can give a food for thought, for sure. Okay, Agnieszka, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thanks a lot.
Now, because we have 2 minutes till the end of our first panel, I wish to invite you to ask Agnieszka or Miriam about their presentations. You still can.
Is Miriam still here?
Yes, Miriam is still here, and Oh, it's still here with us.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
So
And
can-
your English was very good, Agnieszka.
Oh, I didn't feel like it, but it's for sure it
I have
might
the same problem, Agnieszka, you know.
getting better.
I think you're both doing really well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being kind.
No, I'm not just saying it. Yeah.
1:30 p.m. We start our second panel, Dimensions of Postmodern Capitalism, led by or moderated by Olivia Nadarzycka, Olivia Nadarzycka, and our guest will be Derek Larson from Purdue University from Indiana, United States, and Hanna Margolis from Poland, from film school. So I wish you invite you for this presentation. 1:30 we will start. And for now, for the first panel, one more time, thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Agnieszka. And
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you for all listeners for participate in this. See you later.
Thank you very much to you.
Thanks a lot.